What's up, everybody? It's me, Chris Corvan, welcoming you to another edition of Dripping Creativity Podcast. Today, we have the wonderful and talented Eva Crowe having a nice chat with us about writing, video games, and so much more. Right now, happening in the community, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on. The main newsletters are going to be coming out soon. Got to check that out. The website's coming along pretty good. There's just so much happening with so many amazing members that I can't wait to show everyone. Beyond that, I think we're just going to roll right into this fantastic episode and say, Eva, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Let's start off nice and simple. Why don't you introduce yourself and what you do?
I am Eva Crowe. I am 34. I'm from Ohio, and I am a paranormal romance horror writer. All the good things.
That's a good solid title right there. And how long have you been working on this book?
On this particular story, I believe since 2022 is when I started it.
All right. And do you want to give us a little rundown on what it's about?
Oh, the elevator pitch. Basically, it is a paranormal romance, takes place in a place called Black Ridge, which is a universe that the series itself will take place in. But this story is about a main character named Callie, who is half human, half demon. And she is something called a prowler, which is the equivalent of like a bounty hunter / hired gun, basically, that works within the city of Black Ridge. Callie gets hired by the council to find out who is trying to open portals to the underworld, because that would be good for nobody. It is a world where monsters and humans live amongst people, and it's just this big, cohesive, weird, crazy world that everyone is trying to get along in, basically. But Callie gets partnered with a disgraced angel named Elias, and together they have to try to figure out who's opening these portals before all hell breaks loose, and quite literally all hell breaks loose. So there's a little bit of romance along the way.
Perfect. Excellent. We like all that shit. That sounds
It's
great.
a terrible pitch, but it's still a work in progress.
Well, yeah,
very
no,
much.
That's kind of the whole thing, is like the more you say it, the more you realize, okay, we can just condense this part and, we trim it out. It's not a problem at all.
First draft, I finished a while ago, and I do have 2, we'll call them alpha readers right now, that are pouring through it, painstakingly pouring through it. But next step is to start all of the rewrites and all of the things that I want to tweak and change and all the good stuff.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Very excited. So when you're not busy writing this book, or I'm assuming full-time job, what do you like to do in your free time? What drives you to relax?
I am a big gamer. I have very specific games that I play, but I am a big gamer.
That's actually how we met. That is how we met, was through Mass Effect.
Specifically, Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yes, yeah. And I still stand by the fact that I'm right in the fact that it's an amazing ass game, and I proved it to you. So
you did convince me to give it a try, because I was not about it at first.
And it was so worth it, damn it.
It was a fun process.
Excellent. So all right, so we got the Mass Effect, and then what are you currently playing? Tell me about that.
I'm currently playing 2 games. I am doing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is my first ever Assassin's Creed real playthrough. So I'm brand new to the franchise, but it is so good. It's so good. And I cannot get enough of all of the Viking stuff. So
excellent.
Yeah, I'm loving Valhalla.
So when it comes to video games and all that and creativity, do you notice that it has an effect, either positive or negative, on your creative process?
Oh, probably a little bit of both,
Mhm.
because it is something that I use when I'm struggling creatively. I use it to kind of get inspiration. Like The Witcher 3 was a big inspiration for some of the scenes in my story. So, um, yeah, it can be a hindrance though at the same time, because when I'm struggling, I throw myself into gaming, and that can be a hard thing to get out of. So,
Definitely.
yeah,
Well,
it's
like
a plus and a negative at the same time.
I know for me, because I love World of Warcraft. I have for a very
Mm,
long time, like 10 years
right.
plus, been around for a while. But I've noticed that when I'm hardcore into playing WoW, doing all the stuff in there, I lose my creative edge, and I can't
Mm,
create while I'm also playing that game. So I have
yeah.
to, like right now, I haven't touched the game in probably about a year or so, and
Um,
I, I miss the people, I miss my friends so much, but at the same time, I need to be able to create and to do all the shit that I'm doing, and I can't do that if I'm so
yeah,
focused on a game. So
right. That's over half my day is my day job, which is not exciting. And then I come home and I have very little time. So I have to decide whether I'm going to game or whether I'm going to write.
yeah,
And once I get into the flow of writing, it's a lot easier to stay in it. But because I'm in the transitional period of between drafts, it's awful and I hate it. And I read through my story and then I was like, yeah, that's enough for now. We're going to wait. And so luckily I have alpha readers, tackling it. So it gives me a bit of an excuse to do some gaming.
there you go. So besides this new one, because you just said you're in a transition period, do you find you have another idea that's ready to go that you want to work on, or are you just kind of clearing out all of that to make room just strictly for the book?
Um, the only other ideas that I allow any kind of development on while working on another project is ideas for other stories within this series, because the whole concept is not a continual series where the story plays throughout multiple books, but you meet this cast of characters in the beginning, and then you get, like, each book is character driven. So this book, you get Callie and Elias. You very much know what you're getting with it. And then book 2, still in Blackridge, similar surroundings and settings, but we're going to focus on, say, Jasper, who is one of my personal favorite characters that makes an appearance in Callie's story. So you meet them in a previous book and you really start to kind of fall in love with these characters. Then you get them in book 2 or book 3, and you get their kind of story. So those are the only other stories that I really allow my brain to do any kind of to give any love to while I'm writing.
That makes sense. So then I
Yeah.
suppose the next big question is, are you a full-out planner, or are you a pantser? How do you go about creating your stories?
That is a very difficult question for me because
Let's
I
unpack it, man. Come on, walk with me. Let's unpack
here's the
this.
problem. Here's the problem. In the beginning, because I have no formal training as a writer, none whatsoever, no education past high school. I mean, I went to beauty school for 2 years. I'm a licensed cosmetologist, but other than that, there is no continuing ed, right? So I just kind of threw myself into writing because I've always done it. And I convinced myself in the beginning that I was a pantser. I was 100% a pantser, not even a question. I felt stifled when I tried to plot. But in the first story that I worked on, I wrote myself into a corner. And I was completely unable to get past it. I didn't know where the story was going. I had like a beginning and a very, very end, like A and Z. And I could not like connect the dots. So after a lot of trial and tribulation, I'd like to say that I am a loose plotter. I need bullet points. I need to know details that are just detailed enough. Because if I get too many details, I get lost on hyperfixating on them. And if I have not enough, I can't write anything because I don't know where the story is going. So it's like a weird mix of very light plotting
That's
while still giving room to pants.
And you know what? And that's honestly, in my personal opinion, that's how I create as well. Is I like a structure of where I think the story should go, and then from there I let it go where it wants to as I'm creating it, right? Because there's so many of my scripts and audio stories where it's like, okay, this is the story I want to tell, and it's going to be amazing. It's good. Oh, you're gonna love it. And then I get like halfway into Act 1, and I realize, oh no, this son of a bitch is going completely off the rails. We're going way over here. And I
end up, so like, how did we get here?
Yeah, well, exactly. But at the same time, I always have that structure to fall back on if I get too far out of reach, right? So totally get it. I love that. I think that's a fantastic way to go about doing it. So you were talking about that it has romance in it as well. How heavy do you dive into it? Because we have some people out there who get, the light romance or it's all lovey-dovey, and then you get like, the extreme people who really like their spiciness. Where are you on the spectrum?
I guess it's like, because to me there's romance and then there's spice or smut or whatever you want to call it. I used to not like the word smut because it has kind of a negative connotation that it's like something to be ashamed of. And so, yeah, I like the word like adult themes, but smut is, the generally accepted phrase. But the romance is a dominant part of the story. It's definitely there. Like, that's where it's going. I like stories like that. I mean, I read a lot of stuff that you're like, will they, won't they, will they, won't they? This, what you're getting into. This is going to be a romance. There's probably a happy ending. Great. And then there is very detailed sex scenes. There's very detailed smut. I don't like fade to black. I can read it. I don't write it. I can't do it. I hate it in video games. I am not a fade to black. I am not a fade to black kind of girl. Yeah. One of my favorite authors, big authors, is Sarah J. Maas. She's very polarizing, but she, in my favorite series of all time, is a fade to black series except for like one scene. And it kills me to this day because it's my favorite series. And a lot of it is fade to black, but I just don't write it. I like the explicit. I like all of the details, all of the things. So spicy, I'd say a 10. Not so much taboo in this book. Gotcha. Not so much any really heavy stuff in that regard. Nothing too dark, but very explicit. And the romance is sprinkled throughout because it is a very prominent part of the story. Yeah, some people I know, they're like, oh, I can't read the sex scenes, they make me cringe. I'm like, what's that like? Like, I don't know what that is. Like, I'm that person that's listening to like audiobooks in my car in the summer. You pull up at the red light and it's just playing like the really heavy smut scene. And then you look over and like grandma's there in the car next to you and you're like, oh, just turn it down a little. Hey man, but like, I'm not ashamed of it at the same time,
Granny could be enjoying it. You don't know. Don't kink shame Granny, all right?
It's all about the face that you get when you look over. It's either intrigue or it's like shame.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. All right. So going back to something you just touched on there, what authors inspire you? Like, what sort of books and all that do you get into? I like a lot of different things. I don't stick to just one genre of fantasy or whatever. However, the one thing I don't read much of is contemporary stuff. I need some kind of fantastical, magical, dark element. It's just something that I need. I need it for like the escapism factor, I think. But Sarah J. Maas is a really big one for me. I know people either love or hate her. I am on the love train. Her fandom can be intense, so I get kind of the flack that she gets. But another really polarizing one, I just tend to like authors that like kind of ruffle feathers for some reason, but I love Jay Kristoff. He is a fantastic writer. He can be kind of love him or hate him. I think he's amazing. His Nevernight Chronicles, one of my favorite series of all time, and his newest series, Empire of the Vampire, is honestly the best thing he's ever written. His
he is such a fantastic writer. I cannot sing his praises enough. And then as far as the kind of stuff that I write and what influences me, probably Amelia Hutchins. She is entirely self-published and wildly successful at it. The Fae Chronicles by her is really fantastic, and that has a lot of the same kind of themes. It's kind of an urban paranormal fantasy romance deal. And Kresley Cole is another big one. So yeah, basically writing-wise, they're all kind of in that, we'll say fantasy, general fantasy realm. But I also love Stephen King. One of my favorite indie authors ever. Shout out to Keelan Patrick Burke. He is a fantastic horror writer that I'm obsessed with. So yeah, it's kind of, it runs the gamut, but those are the big ones that stick out.
Excellent. So that brings into something that you and I had talked about before, which is creating playlists for your writing. I know several authors that do that. I do that for any of my characters and any of my things. Do you develop it for the story as a whole, per character? Like, how do you develop your playlists?
Generally for story as a whole. Within the playlist, I have songs that is like, oh, this is Callie's song, or oh, this is Elias's song. And Jay Kristoff is actually a big one that does that, and he shares his playlists, his Spotify playlists, on Instagram all the time for each book that he's doing, and they're always fantastic. His are always like metal, and they're so good, like Architects and all kinds of different great bands. But yeah, for me, it's pretty much book based and what I want to feel when I'm trying to brainstorm, because I don't listen to music when I write. I can't. I have to be able to hear my brain, and I can't when there's music involved because I like to sing, and so I listen to the lyrics too much and I can't. So it's more when I'm brainstorming and when I'm in the car and I'm thinking of ideas and stuff. But yeah, per book, I would say.
That's so interesting, because like I know, so you don't listen to music or anything when you write?
No, I need either dead silence, or I need some kind, like my ideal environment is writing outside, at a cafe, coffee shop, whatever. There's just not a lot of good places around here where I can do that. So I have to kind of work with what I have. But yeah, I need to be able to hear my thoughts, because if I have music on, I will focus on the music, and I will just, it's like the equivalent of reading that line in a book over and over and over again. So I need either absolute quiet or just white background noise, like something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I honestly can't, well, like I'm trying to say here, because I cannot. I have to have music or a movie or something that my back brain is listening to, because otherwise the rest of the thoughts that are not the story come forth. So as long as they're distracted with like videos or music or something, then the actual creative brain can focus. So that's very, very weird. Yeah. Crazy. That's awesome.
I don't know how people do that. Like, I think about doing that. I've tried to do it, and it never goes anywhere. Like, it's, I mean, I can't stand, I mean, background noise is fine. Like, one thing is like a comfort show on the lowest volume is one thing. But yeah, I just, even at the coffee shop, if there's like a bunch of noise, I'm just like, oh my God, everybody shut up.
Have you tried looking into instrumentals and ambient music? Did you just have the headphones in? Can you do that?
Nope. I need to be able to hear myself think. Like, when I'm writing, I am reading it out loud in my brain like a story, and I have to be able to hear that. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like, I am a very in my head person, just in general. So I'm constantly always listening to like my inner thoughts. Like, I learned the other day that, like, you know that not everyone has internal monologue.
Yeah, I've met a couple of them. I don't get them.
I read that the other day, and I was like, what? Like, what's going on in there then? Like, what? Because I don't talk to myself per se. I mean, I do, but not vocally, you know?
I do.
But yeah, it's not something that I usually do vocally, but the internal monologue is like, I don't know what that's like to not have that, because that is how I literally navigate everything that I do say. everything goes on in there like constantly. So I don't know how people do that.
Yeah, no, like I've talked to it's weird. I think I've met one writer that doesn't have an internal monologue, and
Wow.
I'm just like, how do you write? Like, I don't understand what you're doing in your brain right now, and it's kind of freaking me out a little. All right, so we've covered all of that stuff. Let's see here. What else is intriguing about Eva? Who are you as a person?
I am a lover of the macabre. I love all the macabre things. I love anything creepy. I like anything spooky. I don't like to be scared in real life, but horror movies, big horror person. My dad let me watch The Exorcist when I was like 6. My mom came in super pissed about it, and he was like, "She's fine." She's fine. And I was just staring at it like, what is this? So like all the horror. And I'm not really a horror snob either. Like, I can find, just in movies in general, I'm a big fan, but I can find something in almost anything that I like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just not a picky. I am and I'm not. It's weird, but all the horror stuff, all the spookies, all that, like, I'm a Halloween girl, I'm a pumpkin spice girl, all of that good stuff. I'm a basic bitch.
Hey, you know what? So I love me some pumpkin spice, man. It's so good. I don't give a shit what anybody says, man. It's so good.
Nope. I will drink it forever.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. All right, well, I think we're actually coming up near the end of this, which is crazy because that flew by. Like, that shit was crazy. So let's end with the where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at the at Eva Crowe Writes. Same handle on Threads. I'm not really on the X anymore. I mean, I exist on there. I'm not really on there though. I am technically on TikTok under the same name at Eva Crowe Writes.
Perfect. That's awesome. And as soon as the book launches, we are going to promote the shit out of it in the cafe because, you know, we love that shit. So that is, and again, I think you have been with us from the cafe pretty much since the start as well.
I think pretty close, yeah. If like, not, pretty close.
I'm pretty sure you were one of the first 16.
Really?
I'm pretty sure you were.
I do. I love the cafe. It's a great place.
So good. I love my people. All right. So we'll say goodbye, and I'll do an outro after, so you don't have to sit here and stare at me talk to the camera by myself. So say goodbye to everyone.
Bye, everyone.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much, Eva Crowe, for joining us. It was a freaking blast, and I loved every minute of it. To everyone who's still here, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, all of that fun jazz. You can find everyone at the Creative Coffee Cafe at our link in bio.link/Creative Coffee Cafe. You can find me, Chris Corvan, pretty much everywhere at Chris of the Void in all places. And yeah, swing by, say hello. If there's somebody you'd like to see me interview and have a chat with, drop it in the comments below. Hit me up on social media and let me know. Beyond that, have yourselves an amazing week. We'll see you next time. I love you all. See ya.